Slide right up. It's not the one we called up, is it? Man, that'd take a while. And this is how you come down. So close to having that room done. It's all insulated up, framed in, insulated up, polyed. Picking out some wood paneling for the wall last night. Sarah might be able to, we have to drive an hour and a bit to go find and buy that stuff, but it'll be get done quick. So nice to go in there and talk and not hear an echo. Just nice, smooth sound. Couple more days. I got all the motors serviced on the boat yesterday. I gotta get the boat in the water this Friday. It's a deadline. I have to hire a truck to come and move it. And now I just have to work on the 2 bilge pumps. And then I think I am ready to put it in the water. Everything else can be done in the water, which isn't too much. Word on me going to the States. Get this one. You still cannot drive across the border or fly across the border from Canadistan to the US unless you have had the jabberoni. Just say it'd be easier for me to fly to Mexico and hike up to and walk right through the border down there to go see everybody and do what I want to do. Imagine what that would be like, having a bag full of camera equipment and stuff and be by myself and hiking through that zone. Anyway, it is what it is. I do have a boat here with Washington State numbers on it. What if I could just rip across with that and then jump up and grab a car maybe, I don't know. Or would I risk getting the boat confiscated? Who knows? And yes, it is my boat, just haven't got the numbers taken off yet, replacing Canadian ones. It's an upside down world. It's an upside down world right now. As long as we keep listening to the people and listening to the people and listening to the people, then shit will get straightened out. That's the only way. The mainstream news is being used as a weapon against you. And yeah, I'm going to keep saying it, and no, it's no conspiracy bullshit, it's the truth. And you have to keep drilling it into everyone. Hopefully you're drilling it into your children too, because that's where the real change will start, right? So it starts. But anyway, that's really frustrating. Apparently, there has been a handful of people that have driven across the border, and the border guards didn't even ask them if they had had that forest needle. I don't know if it's worthy of taking that risk or not, especially with me in my mouth, because I know if I went down there and I got turned around for not having it, I'd probably have something pretty humiliating and rude to say to whoever the officer was. And then I think at their discretion they can pin you to be not allowed to come across the border for 5 or 7 years, right? Whatever. It is what it is. Hopefully we all band together to straighten this shit out one day, right? One day. So that's the word in the street. Now, enough of my voice. Let's listen to some important voices, all right? Important voices. All right, this one is titled Reptilian Sighting. This isn't very common. Hi Steve, I've been watching your videos for years, and I have never had a Sasquatch sighting, so I have not written in. I strongly suspect that I have had encounters with them, as in them being outside of the house at night and hearing the crazy screams that sounded like a woman being murdered once, but never sighting. My son had a series of encounters, some of them in dreams at 21, and I have encouraged him to write in, but he has not done so yet. He's a fan of the Owl Man, so Owl Man, thanks, and please continue to write in. I'm writing because you specifically asked if anyone had ever had an encounter with a reptilian, and yes, I have had one. It happened in the late 80s, when I'd gone to visit a friend who lived on a lake in northwestern Ontario, Canada. Sure, there's a lot of weird shit goes on in Ontario, isn't there? It was in the fall, and it was cool enough out to wear a sweater, and the days were already getting shorter. I parked my car at the top of the hill and followed the path down to the lake where her house was and visited for a couple of hours. I decided that I had better go when it started getting dark so that I would be able to see the path as I walked back up to the car. It was dark when I got to the car. I reached for the door handle, and when my hand was about an inch away, I froze. There it was, sitting in the driver's seat looking at me. I'm going to describe the sensation that I felt in that second in a most undainty way. I'll never forget it. I was so afraid that I felt that I would pee ice cubes. I was paralyzed, and it felt like time slowed down as we looked at each other through the glass. I was not breathing. Then after many long, slow seconds, a thought popped into my head. As I engaged in the thought, the entity disappeared. Poof, gone. What popped into my head was part of a Bible verse that I had memorized as a child when neighbors had taken me to Sunday school at times. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil. I will attempt to describe what it looked like. Over the years, I've seen pictures drawn to depict reptilians, and there are none that really lined up with what I saw. It was late evening and getting dark, but my eyes were adjusted so I could see fairly well. Its skin was scaly, but the scales were not pronounced. It was like the skin was a midpoint between our skin and a reptile, and the color was grayish dark green. If I was to make a guess, the skin was hybrid-like, dull, subdued, with a matte finish. What stuck out the most to me were the eyes. They were deep, set as if they were within a sunken hollow. The eyes and the pupils were small and had a dull yellowish tint to them. As for the rest of the facial features, I would say that they were very human, although they had jutting angles like a severe jawline and a harsh-looking nose, but no particular distorted or bizarre as far as features go. I did not notice any hair, but the shoulders were about the shape and size of someone my size. It fit comfortably in the driver's seat. I'm 5'6", tall, so my guess is that If it was standing outside of the car, it would have been between my height and 6 foot. The overall impression that I was left with was that this thing was cold, cruel, harsh, and hard-hearted. Yes, I know that I'm overdoing with all the descriptive words, but I'm trying to convey the experience as best I can. I stood outside the car for a long time, not knowing what to do. Did I go back down to my friend's house and scare her to death, telling her that monsters live in her hill? That is, if I do not break my own neck on my way back down in the dark. Then I had a strange moment of clarity. Fear no evil. I walked around the car several times, for no particular reason, while trying to muster the courage to get in and sit in the driver's seat that had been recently vacated. One of the many things that bothered me was that this was my dream car. I'd saved for it, and I was very happy when I got it a few months earlier, and now it was spoiled and tainted. How do you even make sense of something like this? This thing did not jump out of the bushes at me, it was sitting in my car. Eventually I got in, drove home slowly because I was feeling waves of nausea. I never even liked the car again, but I was glad that I drove it home because if I hadn't, I think I would have been paralyzed with fear even now. I hope this helps you on your journey, Steve. This story is true. All right, man, that's a hell of a frickin' experience. And I don't believe we've ever had something like that emailed in previous, right? So let's see if this knee-jerk somebody else who may have had something similar and is definitely probably too insecure to share it publicly, right? Because it sounds like a what the hell kind of crack pipe are you hanging off of story. But I wasn't there. I am definitely not the person that can tell you what happened, what you saw, and I definitely can't tell you didn't see that. So take from what you will or leave it, but let's see if anybody else has had something similar happen, all right? And then let's see if we get a new pattern showing up with experiences as we listen to everybody. That'd be a shit eater. I couldn't imagine what I would do if something like that appeared in my Camaro. I think I'd probably hunt them down and shoot the shit out of them. Right? Get out of my car. We've got a crazy dog. I'm good, she's gonna lay there and chew on some cardboard. Excuse me. This is titled Evidence Without Experience. Hi, we were doing some work in Pennsylvania in the late 80s. We were on the New York border. Our work had us out in the forest full of huge pines. When we got out of our trucks, right away I noticed a huge pine with all the bark scraped off. Also, there were 4 deep gouges on each side of the tree. Starting about 12 feet high and about an inch deep and more than an inch wide each. These gouges went all the way down the tree to about 3 feet from the ground, along with all the bark being removed. The light-colored wood almost shined and was definitely a territorial marker. One of the locals wrote it off as a bear. After watching all your videos, it just got me thinking that I doubt there are any bears that can reach that high in either of those states. Also, I've seen bears' claws and how they couldn't make big square looking deep scrapes like these. Evidence without experience, but I'm a believer. Anyone seeing this with their own eyes would have to agree. Thanks, Steve. Mike Dowdy, Trinidad, Texas. Stay safe. Okay, man. Wasn't there, there's no pictures, and my brain automatically goes, okay, well, that sounds like an elk or a moose to me, big one. And elk and moose can do that. I do know there is elk in Pennsylvania, big ones too. I think they're all on draw, aren't they? Is there moose? I don't know. But right away, just the description, sounds like a large bull moose or elk to me, but I wasn't there. Okay, man? Pictures usually help, I guess, maybe, possibly. This next one's titled My Experience. Steve, I'm a subscriber to your channel. This is hard to talk about, but you understand these things. I do not want my name mentioned in your videos. You got it. I live in Tok, Alaska, and I wanted to fish for some large northern pike, so we have a lake called Island Lake, which is located about 5 miles from the Canadian border to the east of Tok, T-O-K. I got out of my truck with my Marlin 45-70 with 405 grain bullets loaded into my rifle with a .454 Casull big bore pistol on my hip. Well, we have a large dangerous game in Alaska. I must take care of myself rather than being clawed to death or eaten. I totally agree, man. A lot of people think that packing heat's being a little insecure, paranoid. It's just common sense. It might happen, it might not happen. Chances are 1 in a million, but there's still a chance, right? I reached Island Lake and cast my line out and instantly hooked a very heavy pike. The pike weighed around 18 to 22 pounds, if my judgment was correct. I threw the pike on the shore because I came here to fill my freezer up for the winter. I cast out my line for the second time and heard a popping noise, which was very loud and sounded like an electrical popping. Short. You might hear when a transformer blows up. The sound came from my left, which was west of Tok. I looked to my left, which is toward the east, and saw a shimmering structure that was about 8 feet across and 12 feet high. I did not have a scope on my rifle, but witnessed a very large, dark figure coming out of this shimmering structure. The creature was too big to describe, and I thought I was undergunned with what I brought. So I only observed it and I stayed quiet until I had seen it run to the portal hole around 45 minutes later. I'm an 82nd Airborne Ranger that went from Afghanistan to Pakistan to get bin Laden from his compound. It is sad that most of us Rangers are dead now because they knew too much, and maybe I'll be next. The shimmering from the portal looked a lot like the hot sun shimmering on a very hot highway. Once the creature returned to the portal, the shimmering went away. I returned home that evening and told my wife, and she believed me. She knows that I'm an honorable man and I speak the truth. Great woman, I'm blessed. Keep sharing the truth, brother. Yeah, and you too, man. You too. And there isn't any doubt in my mind you saw what you saw, because there's way too many people seeing the same thing. And we are being told firsthand from numerous people who apparently are in contact with these beings the same shit, and these people aren't connected in any way. The evidence is overwhelming, right? It's overwhelming. I can only imagine what truth you know from that other topic you brought up. I can only imagine, right? I mean, my God, we've got so many people telling us truths about what really went down with the Twin Towers and the aftermath. And then we have all those other people some people who have died, come back and said flat out, nothing is as it seems. And nothing is as it seems. It's pretty alarming, isn't it? Anyways, I hope you be safe there, man, and live your dreams, live your passions. Keep your shit straight. If you feel like writing back another time, go ahead and do it, man. Go ahead and do it. If you want to share truth of anything else you got, anything you know, share it here. You share it and I'll share it with the people. No problem. I'm glad you survived. What would you guys do? Picture that scene. What would you guys do? Huh? What would you do? You're just going out fishing. Boom, that happens. You didn't ask for it. You didn't wake up in the morning and think to yourself, well, I think I'm going to go catch some pike. While I'm fishing and catching pike and having a great day, I think I'm going to, what should I make up today? I think I'm going to make up, I know that I saw a shimmering thing over there and this large being came out of the hole and went running into the timber. Because I'm bored as F, I've got nothing better to do, and I think that kind of attention drawn to me is going to be a good thing. So I think I'm going to make that up and share it online. Said nobody ever. Right? Said nobody ever. What would you do? What would you guys do if you seen that? For real. I don't care if you believe it or not. Just play the game for 1 second. What would you do? You stand there fishing, you look over and you see what this man just described. Now what are you going to do? Who are you going to tell? Huh? How's it going to make you feel if you saw that all by yourself and now it's gone? No photo, no video, nothing, but it's absolutely scratched into your freaking eyeballs now, and you're never going to not think about that ever again. You're probably never going to be able to drive down the highway without looking for that shimmering marker somewhere. You're probably not going to be able to go fishing ever again without wondering if it's going to happen again. It's going to happen right in front of me. It's going to happen on the trail on the way to the lake. What the hell? What the hell's going on? Am I going frickin' crazy? Right? And then you find a place like this where thousands of people are coming here and sharing the same shit. Thank God. Right? Thank God. Anyway, let's hear somebody else. Excuse me. Mark, this is red. Gifted artifact and staff in Chehalis, BC. Hey Steve, Jared Taylor here from Mission, BC. Got an interesting encounter that played out over the last month. All right, Jared, I hope that later on in this email you're not going to say, don't use my name. It's October 14th, 22 as I type this. My twin brother and our friend that had an encounter when he was 13. You read his story before. We were out setting up trail cams, messing around in the Chehalis area, walking down a dry riverbed. They passed a log that had 5 rocks on it. They didn't think much of it. Placed the cams and were on the way out. They stopped at the log to have a puff break. They noticed this rock had some symbols carved into it. They took pictures and came home. Once I seen the pictures, I knew it was something. I talked to my friends on the Chehalis reservation. Hey, Ruby, just lay on it. Don't scratch it. She got a big canvas sleeping bag to lay on. She's pretending to dig for worms on top of it. I talked to my friends on the Chehalis reservation. They said, yes, that is a symbol they've been using for thousands of years. The Xals, X-A-L-S. So after finding that out, I had to go back to get the rock. 2 days later, I got out there alone. So as I reached this log, things have changed there. It was only 2 rocks on the log and a 6-foot staff-like stick resting against the log. To me, that was a sign like, hey, this is something, don't leave this behind. So I took the rock and the staff home. 1 week later, I'm at the Chehalis River walking downriver. About 500 yards away from where I was standing, I see this being walk out from the direction of the rock was found. It covered 200 yards in 10 seconds, taking some of the biggest steps I've ever seen. Covered head to toe in brown. I'll say color because it was far away, but I'd have to put it in the 7 to 9 foot range. After I watched it disappear behind a rock bank on the other side of the river, I looked at my buddy and said, "Did we just see a Sasquatch?" and laughed. 15 minutes later, I found a baby Sasquatch footprint. It was honestly a surreal moment. I felt blessed to have been in the area as the children. I feel like they are warming up to me. I'll keep you posted if I run into my new friends again. Here's some pictures. The X thing is the Xals. Then man and woman on the stone and the stick staff also. I put a screenshot of Chehalis' origin story for you to check out. Have a great day, Jared Taylor. Well, that's interesting. I know Randy Bryson has a lot of interactions down around, not too far from there, I don't imagine. He's had pictures of tiny little footprints, crystal clear in the sand, big ones. He's got video of the beings, he's heard them in the background while he's hiking through the woods, all sorts of shit. It is what it is, right? But I would suggest, if you want to get tight and show respect to these people, dump the trail cameras. That's just going to work against you. Now, I'm not going to be able to pronounce these native words without hearing them spoken first, so I'm sorry if I butcher them, but here we go. This is the screenshot of what he left. In sales, S-T-S apostrophe A-L-L-E-S, styles. Tradition, Xals, the transformer, defeated a powerful shaman known as the Doctor. Xals turned the shaman to stone and broke the stone to pieces, spreading the fragments to prevent his return. The heart of the shaman fell on the shores of the home lake, Harrison Lake, and became the place where the Xals originated. This is evidence of this culture in the form of Inthic stoneworking and mortuarial practices going back at least 1,500 years. There's evidence that the Xals people relied primarily on the salmon from the Fraser-Harrison watershed as their most important food source. Many of their religious ceremonies are derived from significant periods of the year important to the fishery. While there is no modern link between the people, often referred to as Chehalis, and the Chehalis tribe of eastern Washington, Xals heritage does speak of a flood that separated a southern portion of its people many years before that sales, yeah, see, I can't do it, have a rich and unique culture around visual arts and music. There we go. Appreciate it, man. Interesting find. I'll post those pictures up with the video. I hope I remember to by the time I get inside. And but don't forget, if it's really a true connection you're looking for, you're gonna have to drop the trail cameras. It's just the way it is. Or I guess maybe you're gonna have to go, hey, I got these trail cameras. I'm not trying to be sneaky. I'm gonna put them right here. And if you feel like it, maybe stand in front of one and send me a picture of yourself. Or not. I don't know, has anybody tried that one? I don't know. But I do know one thing. If you're gonna go about it trying to sneak a photograph of these people, they're gonna know and it's not gonna happen. Not much is gonna happen from what I gather. Now, who else needs to be heard? This is titled, Maybe a Puzzle Piece on Dogman. Steve. Hi, Steve. Hopefully you'll get this email. This video image was posted by Q Patriot News. I've been suspicious for some time now about what the labs were engineering deep down in the dumbs. It looks like we have an answer, at least modern day Dogman. This is horrifying. These creatures were either released or escaped to breed on their own. This could be why people are seeing so many. It'd be interesting to see what concentrations and where they are located. Are there dumbs, D-U-M-B-S, nearby the higher numbers? Lots to ponder. Take care out there. All right, looks like there's a link to a video on that topic. You know what, for me, looking back into what we do know and the history carved into rock that nobody can change, big rock like the Egyptian carvings clearly shows a human-like body with a canine head on it. So that puts the history of these beings way back before any dumbs were created or modern times or any kind of a modern corrupt government or scientist could possibly do some kind of a hybrid thing with humans and canines, right? That goes a lot, I feel, it goes a lot farther down the road than current times, without a doubt. Just me, though. Just me. And oh, another thing too, I was daydreaming the other day looking at the doggy over here, is my knowledge on wolves. I have a lot of knowledge on wolves. And, you know, a lot of people's dogs have been killed. I think maybe only once somebody reported a Sasquatch basically murdering a dog in the box of a truck. We heard that one this year, right? But what I can tell all of you is wolves have an absolute insane hatred for other wolves and all canines. It doesn't matter. It wouldn't have mattered if it was a tiny little innocent chihuahua standing there in the middle of the timber. It wouldn't matter if it was the largest dog you can come up with standing there. The wolves are going to see it, smell it, hear it, and race over there and absolutely annihilate it. That's what they do. That's all there is to it. So, would it possibly potentially be the dogmen style beings are the ones who are guilty of murdering people's dogs? Something to think about, right? As I am forced to accept the fact that thousands of people have seen this thing describing a dogman type being, and I cannot ignore it. I can't. I'd be an idiot to ignore how many people have said they've seen these things. So now I'm trying to make sense of them, make sense of some of the evidence that's brought forward before us, including our dogs getting murdered nonstop. Commonly, I shouldn't say nonstop, but commonly in rural places and thrown on the porch, etc., etc. Now this thing's been described as being like a wolf-like head, human body. All right, well, let's throw some wolf characteristics in there. They hate canines. All right, there we go. And then start going from there, maybe. This is titled My Story. Steve, I've been following your channel for several months now. Every time I listen to your emails, I wonder if I should share my experience. I've been putting it off for 2 years. I live in a small town 30 miles from Sarnia. I'm 75 years old now, and my first experience is back in '68. My ex-wife and I were coming home from the movies in Sarnia, Ontario again. And we were south of Courtright, another small village in the area, on 40 highway along the St. Clair River. We were driving along the St. Clair River at about 11 p.m. There was no traffic, and it was pitch black out with no moon or stars. I rounded a bend in the road with my high beams on, and out of nowhere, there it was on the side of the road, but still on the pavement. It must have been 9 feet tall, black with wide shoulders. I swerved to miss it, but I wasn't sure if I did. I said to her, "Did you see that?" And she just looked at me and never said a word. I turned around to see if I could see this thing. I stopped where it was, and I got out and looked over the bank, but couldn't see anything. I went back the next day to look for any clue. There were no footprints because of the hard-packed gravel shoulder. The bank was fairly steep and about 25 feet down to the water, and nothing but underbrush. I never attempted to walk through that mess. I mentioned to a friend of mine a week or so later, and I was told not to spread that around or they would be locking me up. My ex mentioned it to me once after that encounter and never mentioned it again. In the early 80s, I went moose hunting in northern Ontario, about 40 miles south of Timmins. This was my second experience. My partner and I drove down a logging road and came to a clearing. He stopped and got out and made a small fire to cook our bologna, toast, and tea. He said he wanted a nap after he ate, and I told him I was going for a walk and would be back in 20 minutes. Right away, I picked up a fresh track and followed it. It led me to an area where it looked like the moose were herding for the winter. These tracks went in all directions. I then picked up a bear track at about 6 or 7 inches wide. I followed it for 150 feet, and the hair on the back of my neck stood straight up. I stopped dead in my tracks. I looked around and saw nothing. I started walking again and stopped again. Something told me to turn around and leave and don't come back. I went back to our van and told my partner about my experience, and he said, "Well, we better leave." He didn't waste any time driving this logging road. After he was a mile down the road, he slowed down and started talking. He wondered where I went, that I was gone for 3 hours. I just looked at him and I said, "I was only gone for maybe an hour." He told me that I left the van at 1 p.m. and it was now 4 p.m. and it seemed I only walked 30 minutes. When we got back to camp, my partner told the other members of our party to stay clear of that area. I went back 2 years later and heard a voice again while walking along a bog. Quote, "You're back. You were told." End quote. That year I shot a bull moose and quit hunting for good. Never even went back up there to fish. I know when I'm not welcome. Maybe my mind was playing tricks, but I don't think so. Frank. Ugh. That's creepy, Frank. And everybody knows what I'm going to say. You wrote in. That had such an impact on you. You held it forever and you sought this place out, the email address, and emailed into me to share with the people. That's not a mind game, a mind trick on your mind. That really sucks ass that you quit, man. I hate hearing it when people dump their passion for the real world. Hate it when I hear that, but it's what it is. We all react differently. If I could, I'd encourage you to go somewhere else. Just go somewhere else, take baby steps, and obviously you're getting warned. Whatever's telling you those words doesn't want to hurt your ass, they would have done it, right? It's just like moose hunting. When a bull moose is coming in, you're not going to stand up and say, "You better get out of here," or you're not going to stand up and say, "Hey, you've been warned," unless you didn't want to hurt it, right? Or take it, or kill it, whatever you want to call it. So whoever, all these numerous, hundreds of freaking people that are hearing these words plastered into their head, "Get out of here," that's not from something that wants to hurt you, right? Just looking at it from a rational, somewhat rational thinking, common sense angle. Every single one of the people out there, thousands who are hearing these voices, these messages, whatever the source is, they don't want to hurt you. They don't want to take your ass, right? Otherwise, they'd stay silent until they have their hands on you. So that's interesting, but that's just something that you might want to take into consideration while being absolutely terrified of going in the woods ever again. Just remember, the source of that voice didn't really want to do anything to you. All right? So just go try somewhere else. That's what I do. You feel pressure, you feel that uneasiness, that uneasy pressure. When you think about it for a little bit, make sure it's just not your mind playing tricks on you, spooking you out, because there is a difference. There is a difference. I've done it to myself lots of times. I've spooked myself out before, and then I've gone, hold on a minute. What are you feeling in your gut? Is it really alarming? No, it's not. It's just me. Okay. But then all of a sudden you'll feel a real pressure. And then it's like, ooh, no, this isn't good for me. I'm not feeling good about this at all. And this isn't my mind. I'm just going to leave. And I've done it. I'm still here. And as you guys see, I'm still going out. So anyways, I'm just saying, I'm not shaming anyone for quitting. I'm just saying it's really unfortunate. It bothers me that happens because people are getting stripped of their fair crack at living this life out to have as much fun as they can and experience what they're passionate about. That sucks ass. But for all you people out there who have had the similar experience, please think about this angle, is that the source of that voice didn't want to harm you, no matter how nasty they spoke to you, right? Now, thanks for sending that in, man. Appreciate it. Absolutely appreciate you going out of your way to share that with all the people here through me. What do we got here? What? Okay. The title of this one is Red. Second attempt. They do know I watch your videos. And that is the title of this email. Hey Steve, my name's Pat. Excuse me, get ready for this. It's what you would call an oh shit moment, or perhaps another puzzle piece. I just recently started watching your videos about a week ago. I've watched hours and hours of your content. Honestly, I'm a bit hooked. I've always known that they exist, but never had a sighting or experience that was life-changing until last night, January 7th, full moon. I own over 40 acres in northern New Jersey. Very secluded, that backs up to state property. I don't live on this land, however, I have an old camper set on top of the mountain, and my son and I spend many nights staying there. I always feel completely comfortable anywhere on the property, even though I don't venture out much in the dark, as there is plenty of black bears and coyotes. You guys got some monster bears, man. Monster bears there. So anyway, last night we headed up the mountain to the campsite around 7 p.m. Around 11 p.m. my son was asleep, and I was watching TV in the camper in the back bedroom. I heard a loud rustling of the leaves outside, obviously not uncommon. I didn't pay a lot of attention to it. Minutes later, something hits the top of the camper. It didn't sound big, but also didn't sound like a stick or anything falling from a tree. It sounded more like a small stone hitting the metal roof. At this point, I'm becoming a bit more in tune to my senses, but I'm still not concerned as I'm in the woods and there's always lots of sounds at night. I ignore the previous noises and continue to watch the Supercross race on TV. And all of a sudden, there is the distinct tapping next to the window of the camper, about 3 to 4 taps. Literally, sounds like someone's tapping on the camper with their finger. Now my heart starts pounding, and I'm thinking to myself, who's out there? Is someone messing with me? What the hell was that? I have 2 dogs with me, but they don't seem to notice anything. I try again to ignore it, but I'm very nervous now, and I can feel my heart pounding. I've never felt this way. I was legitimately nervous. I wasn't able to look out the window at all. I felt frozen in my bed. Another tap in the window, and now I'm totally freaking out. I got the courage to get out of bed. I want to see what the hell's going on, and my son's asleep. So, if there's going to be an issue, he was my main concern. I grab a machete, as it's all I have, and I'm feeling very vulnerable at this point. I let the dogs out first, then I go outside. Of course, nothing outside. Not even the slightest sound of anything except my generator running. I turn on my flashlight and walk over to the generator to add gas before I go back in. As soon as I get to the generator, the flashlight goes off and won't come back on. I'm overwhelmed with the most freezing cold feeling of my life down to the bone. Now it is winter, but this is a cold I've never felt before. Someone or something was right behind me and I could feel it. I'm getting chills as I write this. I quickly dump some gas in the generator and I can't see the flashlight's out and I'm freaking out. One of my dogs will not leave the porch and the other one seemed totally fine, not concerned at all, wandering around the camper through the woods. The dogs and I go back inside and I lock the door. I've never felt the need to lock the camper before. I sit back down in my bed and I tell myself it's nothing, stop worrying, just stupid woods noises. I start to relax again. I start to relax and again tapping at the window. I say, go away. Almost instantly, all my feelings of nervousness and fear are gone. There was no more sounds all night, and I actually slept better than normal after that. I have no idea what it was. Also, it could have been nothing, but couldn't help but start thinking about all your videos and wondering, do these things know I've been listening to all this info from all the people on the channel? Sounds weird, but also weird that all of a sudden, after watching all your videos, I experienced this. One other time on my property, I was walking my dog, checking the property corners, and I was overcome with this horrible smell. I thought for sure, right away, there's a bear somewhere close by. My dog started panting hard and sniffing everywhere, running around. I was looking all over, saw nothing. Within a few minutes, the smell was gone completely. I never even thought anything about that again until what happened last night. I just felt compelled to share this with you. I wonder what your thoughts are as far as them knowing I've been listening to you. Not much more to say. Shit, man, I don't know. You know what? This is just one of millions of places to hear voices on the internet. And like some of our friends who are in contact say flat out, they don't know anything about us, far away groups or individuals, whatever. They don't know anything about me or anyone else, right? So I wouldn't think that's a factor at all. But considering where you are geographically and what you describe your property as, it's basically almost only a matter of time, right? Because how many times have you heard about people who have had rural properties, ranches, farms, they've had it for a few generations, never had a problem, hunted there all my life, we never seen nothing, and then all of a sudden here's this damn thing screaming at us, or chucking rocks at us, or repping across the field, whatever, right? So, there you go. One thing I can say for certain is there's no predicting. There's no predicting when or where, right? It's like the toss of the dice. You just don't know. I wouldn't be down with hearing tapping on the camper window. I wouldn't be down with hearing or feeling tapping on the side of the tent either. I don't think anybody would. Now, all right, here we go. This is titled Sasquatch Listening. Go figure. Steve, on January 7th, 22, I was driving south on I-95 past Daytona with my daughter to get her new Mustang GT CS car, candy apple red, in New Smyrna Beach. She was looking out the passenger window at the woods that are on both sides and in the median. I jokingly said, "Are you looking for Sabe?" Because she doesn't believe they exist, but I do. Within a minute of saying this, both our ears had pressure, ears popping, like in an airplane taking off, or high altitudes like in the Smoky Mountains / Gatlinburg / Pigeon Forge we've been to so many times for vacation, but no high altitudes in Florida. Giggling, we looked at each other and she had a new expression on her face of shock or stunned and said, "That was weird." I said Sasquatch heard us. We didn't say anything else about it. It made her think though. We were just listening to the directions to the place we were going and music. Keep up the awesome work. I like watching your videos every night. They're informative and sometimes funny. God bless you and Sarah and the family and goats and horses and Ruby and all the animals you have. Like the background views you show. I heard you say you don't have to see them to be a member of the club in no return. So I guess we are members now. Thanks for reading it. When you get a chance. Candy Cash. P.S. Tell us more about yours and Sarah's experiences around your new house with Sabe. Well, I can't say we've had experiences with them directly around here. And I can't say either, feeling the pressure change in your car definitely doesn't say it's a Sasquatch. You know what I mean? It's just a change of pressure. But I wasn't there, but you didn't mention seeing the being, right? Because a change of pressure made your ears pop. Somebody who's more experienced with the atmosphere may have some suggestions of what made your ears pop. But you never know, right? You never know. I haven't had, that I know of, okay, we had banging on the house within the first month we moved here. Banging on the outside of the house about 15 feet up. It's a vaulted ceiling. What else? Definitely seen bright lights across the valley on the next mountain over, but that's not our yard. We've had lights in the basement. Your son has seen a handful of different colored lights in the basement more than once. No harm done yet, so, and it's not, I know there's nothing I can do about it. I don't know what it is, I haven't seen it, and I know there's nothing I can do about it, and no harm being done, so I don't really pay too much attention to it myself because it's not alarming. What else? We have seen bright lights while being in the back in the hot tub, now probably 1, 2, 3, 4 different times. No footprints, nothing's gone missing, and the animals have not freaked out, I don't think. But I have had a shit pile of bears in the yard, that's for sure. I think, we've had cougars next door, but that's about it so far. Everything else has happened down on the river about 600 yards from here. That's all I got. That's all I got. Now, what else do we got? All right, I'm gonna go one more. Looks like a fairly lengthy one. Then I'm gonna get going on the rest of my chores. Who do we got? What do we got? No title. Hello, Steve. I'm using a friend's email address, but please not share his or my name. I've included my initials you may use. If at all possible, please let me know when you upload this, as I would like to hear the video on which you do. This sounds familiar. I wonder if I read this. This happened last September. I was hiking last autumn in the Crosley Fish and Wildlife Area in Jennings County in southern Indiana. I'm interested in the topic of the Sabe and always think about it whenever I'm in the wilderness. I know that in the past there have been numerous accounts of Bigfoot in this area and in the surrounding counties. This refuge is 4,200 acres of woodland, hills, rivers, and hollows. Close by is another wildlife refuge / state park that is 7,800 acres. So the majority of the county is undeveloped woodland. As I've said, I've been interested in this subject for a few years, and it's always on my mind when I'm in the woods. That day in late September, I had hiked 12 miles and seeing the light was fading and decided to head back. I was on a trail parallel to the river, facing south. On my left side was a huge cliff, almost vertical, straight up 100 feet or so. When I approached a bend, following the natural contour of the cliffs and hills, I was at the foot of a hill on an almost 45-degree angle. Atop the hill, the trail veered sharply to the left, then a right took me deeper into the woodlands. At this bend is when I first felt like I was being watched, and oddly I could feel the eyes watching me were atop the cliff, but behind me. And I could also feel that whatever it was watching me, aware, but could not see me, like I was sensing I was there somehow and felt like it was appraising me. I think I read this. I should mention that I've always been sensitive to feelings and impressions. My mother and her mother had the same gift. I'm not saying I'm psychic, but my intuitive is the best way to describe it. I was taught by my mother from a young age to always pay attention to the feelings and voices / visions that you hear, as it's alerting you for a reason. We are also very religious, and I strongly believe that this intuition comes from God, the guardian angels at other times, and guardian angels at other times. I cannot count the times and ways listening to this voice has spared me a lot of trouble or stress, or how ignoring it when I did was a cause of deep regret. So, as I felt the eyes upon me, were not physically seeing me. Hey, that's not dirt. I somehow knew what I was doing and began to pray. When, with what may have been a suggestion, but I doubt it, as the thing was much closer now in the thick woods behind me, I detected a foul smell like skunk/musty BO/wet dog with a touch of sewage. In my mind's eye, I could see the being clearly. I got a distinct impression that this was a dark, huge, powerful being over 8 feet. It's very hard to explain and easy to dismiss, I know, but I get impressions and see what are faint outlines, almost auras. Without seeing it, it's more like feeling it. It's hard to put it into words, but it's like being near a large animal or person that you're familiar with, and closing your eyes so you can feel their presence there. That's how this was. But I was aware it was behind a large red oak watching me. I could discern that it was a male, very powerful, and felt not a threat, but a hostility, a contempt, but no anger or a physical threat. I could hear twigs and leaves on the forest floor crunching underneath the being, and I thought, though I cannot be sure, that I heard its powerful, steady breathing. I decided to try to mind speak to it, and so in my mind I said to it, "Greetings, I know you're there, and I have an idea of what you are. I mean you no harm. If I'm trespassing, I'm sorry. I do not mean any offense. I just want to pass through. I cannot hurt you, and do not wish to be hurt." And here's the oddest thing, because in all my life and for all my intuition, I've never experienced this outside of one time in a haunted house. And that's when I've heard the voice of intuition and the being almost simultaneously, and I was aware that they could communicate with each other and with me. I heard the voice of the being speak first. And if anyone has seen the movie Legend, where Tim Curry plays the Lord of Darkness, the thing spoke a lot like that, but more gravelly and in an indescribable way, more earthy. I can't explain it more, but the message came through clear. It said, "Do not speak to me." It came through with definite anger, but also contempt and shock that I would or could speak to it. And that's when I heard the voice of intuition say to me, he, or maybe it was this one. Again, it's hard to explain because you get impressions and you have to form the words to transcribe them. Does not like humans. They're not all like him, but this one is angry. They're not like you, and by you I took it to mean human. He would hurt you if he could, but he cannot. It is not personal. He sees all humans as one. He cannot hurt you, but he doesn't like you, and you need to leave. I know how crazy this sounds, but it's true. It all came through in real time as if I were having a conversation with 2 people beside me. Then I heard the voice of the being in my head, but faintly and far off, and I felt that the voice of intuition was speaking to it, and I got the impression that the voice had authority over it. And as I started praying, the being's voice came into my head as an interruption, like he was aggravated and bothered by the prayer. It said, "Go from this space now, you'll be left alone." By space, I got the impression it had something like an area it controlled or was a part of somehow, like this space meant my space. And I felt the thing had contempt, and I knew it was because I prayed and somehow knew that, because the voice is speaking to it on my behalf, that it felt resentment and shock. After I'd walked about 2 miles in the direction of my car, I'd felt that any threat of danger was behind me. I started to wonder about what they are when the voice interrupted me. "You don't need to know," which I understood as, "You're not supposed to know." Well, that's it. That's my one encounter story, and I know some, maybe a lot of people will not believe me, and I don't care. If I did, I would not have written you. I don't talk to people about this subject often, as people are often militant deniers. But when I meet a skeptic, I tell them that if they disbelieve in Sabe, to go live on Vancouver Island for a year. And if they disbelieve in ghosts, then go spend the night at Battleground at Gettysburg. Their minds will be changed. SG. Thank you for your time, and I hope everyone reading/hearing this is doing well and is in good health. If you have any questions, Steve, feel free to contact me at this email address and I'll reply. All right, man. That's the holy shitter. It's not a first. I guarantee you, our Arizona group, the Owlman, and a handful of others are going to be absolutely knowing exactly what this is all about, without a doubt. How many people have heard that heard the same feelings? Does that make sense? Heard a feeling. It might as well be described that way. Hearing a feeling, right? It's funny. Remember about a while back, I was trying to joke around saying, imagine if somebody, if you knew without a doubt they cannot hurt you, and you had this experience, what would happen if you said, jam it up your ass, you get out of my space, dickhead. Right? I'm not saying do that. I'm just being a bit of a smart ass. Picturing coming at from another angle. I wonder what would happen, because something so possibly so intimidating and outclassing us physically in every way. When you picture, it would be like taunting the lion behind the bars, right? The lion's like 2 inches away from you, telling you to get out, you're gonna rip your head off, and you're just laughing and spitting in his face because you know he can't get you. I wonder what sort of a display of frustration and anger would come your way from a being like that if you flipped at the bird when it told you to get the hell out of here. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't think it would be too cool, I'd imagine, right? Anyway, I gotta go put on my rain gear, some warmer clothes and rain gear, because I gotta lay on my frickin' chest on the snowy deck of that damn boat as I reach down and pull out all the batteries and disconnect them to get at the bilge pump in the bottom of that damn thing. And there's snow all over the place. This is gonna suck. Urgh. Here we go. I'll be back shortly. Keep sending in all the shit you guys got. Share my story at howtohunt.com. Sarah picked up a bunch more t-shirts and hats that she's hand shipping, and everybody's getting them right away. So if you want them, I think she restocked her store again, and grab them up. I'll be back shortly.